What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're back with some Destiny 2 news and updates for the week. And so firstly, Bungie confirmed that we'll get yet another hotfix this week, and this will be coming with a handful of fixes and changes for exotics. So we'll talk about those, and as we've seen in previous weeks, hotfixes have adjusted some important elements of Lightfall, so we'll talk about that, as well as additional future changes. And Bungie confirmed that we'll hear more from Commander Zavala in the coming months. But on top of that, there are a bunch of leaks circulating about future content and updates. And so initially today we'll talk about some supposed upcoming exotic reworks, which is reasonably low spoiler I suppose, but there's also conversation about reprised weapons for Season 21, and plenty more. So as always guys, I hope you enjoy this one, and if you do, a rating below really helps us out, but otherwise, let's get into it. And first up today, we are going to be getting another patch this week. So the Destiny 2 team said in this week's upcoming patch, we have a fix planned to correct an issue that was causing Touch of Malice and Quicksilver Storm to deal less damage than intended to minor enemies. And say red bars will once again live in fear of these exotics as nature intended, so that'll fix the damage issues with both of those. There is also a bug at the moment with Quicksilver Storm's Catalyst. I'm not sure if this update will fix that, but as we've seen over the past couple of weeks, these updates have dropped on Thursdays, and they have had a handful of different changes for the expansion and the season content, so I'm sure we can expect a few patch notes there. But next, Bungie Help also said that with the update last week, the issue causing Sunblight enemies to take damage through their shields in Root of Nightmares actually wasn't fixed despite it being in the patch notes, so they say this one will be fixed in a future update. And in terms of weapon mod availability that was fixed in the hotfix last week, they say the fix for ghost mod availability is complicated and will require more time to test. So those are possible additional fixes that we could see on Thursday, but I'll have to keep you guys posted. Next though, something I wasn't able to talk about last week, but Bungie spoke very briefly about the future of Commander Zavala, and gave a tribute to Lance Reddick, who passed away a couple of weeks ago, which of course has been a really sad piece of news for the community. But Bungie did say that for now, they will honour his presence through his performances yet to come in the game, and the memories that will last us a lifetime. They said we're deeply saddened by his passing, but thankful for the time we spent together, and our thoughts are with his friends and loved ones. And so they kind of gave us soft confirmation there that there is more Zavala yet to come in the game, more than likely in the upcoming seasons. And of course Bungie worked quite far ahead of content drops, so there's stuff there that they've already worked on with Lance Reddick. And then of course a bit further down the road, Bungie will need to strategize around how they move forward with Zavala. For now though, it's cool that we'll get more content from Zavala in the upcoming months. So give us your thoughts about that down below guys. And up next, let's talk a little bit about future content updates. And since the launch of Lightfall, there has been a lot of conversation about leaks relating to future content. But it's safe to say, without going into specific spoilers right this moment, that there appear to be some leaks which potentially are legit, although as always, there's no guarantee. But one that seems to have gained a bit of momentum in the community relates to a supposed leak of planned exotic changes for Season 21. Of course, take this with a pinch of salt, but this was covered right here by Paul Tassi on Forbes, going over a list of changes that were posted by Bungie Leaks on Twitter. And a few people have spoken about these changes, and it suggests that Salvation's grip will get a change, where the charged shot will form 6 crystals, and then uncharged shots shoots a normal grenade that shatters crystals. There's things like Eyes of Tomorrow, and it says killing 4 targets in 1 volley refunds 1 ammo. That could be an interesting one. And it says there'll be another one for Graviton Lance, which increases the rate of fire to match Revision 02 burst, with the difference in damage between the 2 bullets being reduced. And then it suggests for Tommy's matchbook that the catalyst is updated so that when overheated, sustained fire scorches targets, and every 5 shots will apply Scorch. And something like that would certainly have the potential to be pretty good. One for Worldline 0 though says Tesseract can be chained into itself once with damage slightly reduced. Not really sure what to make of that one. But the list goes on with exotic armors as well, Vesper of Radius, and it says Rifts will be able to emit an arc shockwave every 3 seconds that deals 200 damage in PvE and 70 in PvP, and if the shockwaves kill an enemy, they explode on a delay for 100 damage. Again, not confirmed, but a change like that would certainly be pretty juicy. And with Chromatic Fire, it says precision final blows with your kinetic weapon create an explosion that damages and applies status effects in the elements of your subclass. And for Dawn Chorus, Daybreak projectiles scorch on contact and deal increased damage to scorched targets. It also suggests there'd be a minor nerf for Ophidian Aspect in removing the melee range extension. Then it says Astrocyte Verse will allow to blink further and more frequently, leaving behind a burst of void damage that also suppresses. But it also suggests that Doom Marchers will see the damage chain reduced in terms of range, and that'll go from 20 to 12 meters, with a reduction in PvP damage. And for Point Contact Cannon Brace, it says strikes added by the exotic will now jolt targets as well. with PvE damage buffed from 50 to 200, and being amplified now increases the damage of the strikes by 50%. And for second chance, the second shield charge will now weaken, and when you stun a barrier champion, you regain the charge. And it also says for Stronghold that after blocking damage, you'll gain restoration on damaging an enemy. Then there are some for hunters, and for Sealed Hamkara Grasps, powered melee kills will reload the magazine of all weapons matching your subclass. When the buff is active, it'll grant increased movement speed and jump height. That would be pretty fun. One for Raiju's Harness, where deactivating your super creates a blinding explosion and grants a buff that increases arc weapon damage by 5% in PvP and 15% in PvE. And for Arthur's Embrace, rapid precision hits will grant weighted knife energy. So an interesting list of changes. There are a few more, I'll link them in the article below. Again, it's a supposed leak, these aren't confirmed changes by Bungie, although I think it certainly would be positive broadly if Season of the Deep did see that number of exotic changes alongside the release, but we'll simply have to wait and see, and I guess we can play a bit of an interesting game of waiting to find out which, if any, of these supposed changes actually come to the game. Give us your thoughts down in the comment section. There have been other leaks though, and these are a bit more spoilery, I suppose, but Destiny Bulletin said a list of Season of the Deep Taken themed weapons has seemingly leaked, and apparently Last Wish Raid is also likely to get a refresh, according to a post. So obviously, if you don't want to see any stuff about that, move away now, but Destiny Bulletin and the game post provide more information, and they say some images were shared of an alleged presentation for the game, and it featured a list of weapons from the Reckoning activity from back in Joker's Wild. And apparently some of these will come back in kind of Taken variants, but it says we'll see the return of Just In Case, Outlast, Spare Rations, Sole Survivor, Last Man Standing, and Bug Out Bag, which were the Reckoning weapons. And it says as well that the Braytech Osprey and Loaded Question will be added as Nightfall weapons again, with Randy's throwing knife returning as a Crucible weapon. And the post right here shows an image apparently associated with the leak, but it says there will be an origin trait called Unstated Hunger, which grants increased handling, reload, and stability when no abilities are fully charged, and swords will gain increased guard resistance and charge rate instead. It also suggests that on top of us getting a new dungeon, that Last Wish will get an update too. So it certainly is interesting, and we'll have to wait and see what we get. Not sure why apparently there have been so many leaks this season, but there are plenty of them starting to gain traction, so it's interesting to play the game of watch and wait, because there have been numerous times where these kind of leaks have turned out to be correct. So I guess we'll find out, but share your thoughts down below. And for today guys, that is what we have to speak about. So as always, I hope you've enjoyed this one, and if you have, a rating below really does help us out. Plus if you're new to the channel, be sure to get subscribed and I'll keep you posted with more content. And otherwise, as always, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.